And Smith has wrapped up 20 metres away from the Rabbitohs line on that eastern touch line. Back for Maguire, 15 out. Leeds are looking good. Peacock's ball that was touched there by Rabbitohs. Could be play on. Luke is back there. Try is claimed by Diskin. And the referee says try. Well, it was a real scramble for possession. But I'm pretty sure it is Matt Diskin who has got there, the hooker. There were 3 Leeds players there to get to the loose ball. But the try has been awarded to the number 9, Matty Diskin. And Steve, you're watching your first game of Rugby League live. Let me tell you, the tries will get better than that. That was a real scrappy affair. And Matty Diskin coming up with it.
The play right here that I was impressed with, almost a big turnover for South Sydney. If they could have just come up with that football.
Looking at the replay, I reckon the referee's got it 100% right. Phil Bentham. It was touched on the way through by Ben Lowe.
That's the difference between American football and league football. The runner actually has to have possession of the ball when it crosses the plane and gets into the goal line.
So Diskin the try, Sinfield the conversion, and a 6-0 scoreline leads the Rhinos over the Rabbitohs. With less than a handful of games in first grade, as far as experience is concerned, Hodges tries his shorter kick this time. He's found space, don't get it across. It hit the post, and Bo Champion has got there, but the call is knock on. And they will come back to the 20 for the restart. It'll go down as a bomb try for Bo Champion. In fact, they're bringing out the chalk outline right now where the try was murdered, because it's going to be a try, and then knock forward. The junior Kiwis last year, as was Eddie Payer. And now Falloon out to the left with Hodges begging to be intercepted. Smith does so. Torpy. Now there's real troubles for the Rabbitohs. The cover's not going to get across there. The chasers are being led by Bo Champion, but Leeds will get the try. Webb sprints away to score it. So an intercept 10 metres out from the Rabbitohs line has resulted in a Leeds try, and Webb gets it 10 points to 0. And David, great disappointment there. The Rabbitohs attack coming unstuck, and I guess that's something that's going to be missing with so many changes in the side, a little bit of cohesion.
It's something that we've worked on in the pre-season. You know, we've worked on our attack, and you know, I think Jason Taylor will be disappointed with the timing of the runs there, but you know, we've got good shape there, and you know, it is a trial game, and that's what it's there for.
Well, 10 points to 0 as the ball came left, and I said in the call the pass was begging to be intercepted. This one from Hodges, it was a gift for Smith, and no better man than Webb to get the ball. So he took that on the 20-metre line.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to catch Webby from there, mate, that's for sure.
Another Kiwi. A little bit quicker than Dave Kidwell.
Just, mate, just.
But he's a great support player, Brent Webb, as his replacement is at the Warriors, Wade McKinnon. It's always been a real strength of his game, and he was certainly the right man in the right place there. And now for a 12-0 lead for Kevin Sinfield. Kicked 6 from 7 in the grand final and a field goal. Long-time captain of this side. And his wife Jane, as I mentioned earlier.
Fossey, how have you found Jacksonville, mate?
Well, 48 hours, probably the best 48 hours of my life, David. I spent probably 20 of it lost in a car, driving on the wrong side of the road.
Mate, all you have to remember, tight right, far left, that's all you have to remember.
That's what I've been told, and I apologise to that person when I went to Jacksonville Zoo and I drove up the wrong entrance. Gave them a little bit of a scare. They had a long day there, and all they needed was an Australian coming at them head on in a hire car. So now the lead side 42 metres out from the line, and Rob Burrow. I don't think there's anyone in the NFL with the physical dimensions of Rob Burrow. Now out to Clinton Torpy. Probably more likely to find him in the Kentucky Derby. Rob Burrow on the favourite. Now nice kick. It was a challenge there. Knocked down, and the Rabbitohs under pressure again. Burrow wins the race to the ball. Burrow gets there first. The play started by Maguire, and it's the third try of the day for Leeds. It looked like they were going to come unstuck that play, but enthusiasm, determination, great attitude from Robbie Burrow gets himself a third try for the Rhinos, 16-0. Don't give up on the ball. It looked like it was going to go dead. Maguire's kick, he was knocked off his feet by Jamin Lowe. And Burrow just never let up. and got there in front of Shannon Hegarty. Leeds are looking pretty sharp, and certainly on the scoreboard looking very strong at 16-0.
Well, you were telling me earlier, this is the team that defeated the undefeated team, so to speak, of the Super Cup, I guess it is.
Well, St Helens had gone through the season as minor premiers and went in as favourites into the grand final. But on the big day at Old Trafford, the Theatre of Dreams, that's where the dreams were for Leeds. And they claimed the title. They've got a third goal and an 18-0 scoreline.
Might be good news for the New York Giants as they're playing the Patriots next week in the Super Bowl. Patriots undefeated, and of course the Giants lost to the Patriots, much like, as you mentioned, Leeds had lost and came back and won.
Well, Leeds' record in recent times, grand final winners in 04 and 07 and runners-up in 2005. We also remember them winning the World Club Challenge when they beat the Bulldogs back in 2005, so they've got plenty of big match experience, and that man's been part of all of it, Kevin Sinfield. But only a metre away from the line, and sweating on a fourth try here. Maguire attacks to the left on to Keith Senior, and Senior just waltzes in to score try number 4. And the South Sydney defence right there was dismantled close to the line. And Leeds have their fourth try, and a high five from Keithy Senior, who I mentioned earlier has been around a long, long time, over 400 games of first grade. His Leeds debut back in '99, he was at the Sheffield Eagles before that. And at 31 years of age, he lines up for another season. And that was easy for Keith Senior. I can guarantee you, Steve, he's run a lot farther than that to score tries in his career, and he has scored many, many tries.
I'll tell you, the impressiveness about that, obviously with the rules about having to back off, when you're only a meter away from the goal line, that plays right into the strengths of the offense.
The South Sydney defence there just did appear at 6s and 7s, and
everybody kind of getting the gist of the game so far?
It still gets back to the offloading ability of the Leeds players and the inability of the South Sydney defence at the moment to prevent any sort of passing. There's too much second phase and third phase football here from Leeds. It is really hurting Souths. And the Australians who came along today have gone a little quiet in the crowd. Fourth kick of the day from Sinfield hits the upright, and that's a dangerous thing, these posts. They don't look all that permanent. Doesn't look like a great structure. Strong wind and we might lose them. But 22-0 the score. Talking about strong wind, when the Rabbitohs trained here yesterday afternoon, it was howling here. This scrum will pack down 25 metres out from the South Sydney line. We're told that Dennis Rodman's in the crowd. He'd be hard to miss.
Yes, he would.
Some tattoo parlours have made good money out of Dennis.
I don't think there's any place they can put a tattoo on Dennis.
Is there anywhere else they could pierce him?
If there is, I don't want to know about it.
No, true. We don't need to go there, literally or figuratively. And line, and in fact no advantage, says referee Bentham, so they will pack the scrum. There is Russell Crowe with Peter Holmes at court. Peter was running around, he was basically filling every role. I saw him cleaning the men's room out the back. He was making sure everything was right. There was rain here, he had to towel down all the seats for the 11,000 crowd.
It's a really good crowd for Jacksonville. It's a great event for Jacksonville. And of course, happy Australia Day to you and to all of the natives of Australia. No different than our 4th of July.
Big occasion back home. That one. And Talanoa back at fullback as he filled in the run to the finals last year. Denied David Peachy finish in first grade at Souths, but Taylor with his head. Our Souths would like an intercept in this play. But it is Leeds with the opportunity to score coming up to the break. Webb switches back in. There's a strong attack. Ball kept alive. Rob Burrow is with it. Burgess gets on it. The big boy 9 minutes away from the line. Another offload. It is killing South Sydney. Burrow decides to kick. Senior is there. Trips over. Donald gets there to score. I reckon they've got their 5th try. Senior was skilled like a 10-pin. But there was another bloke on the outside, and Scotty Donald was there to score the 4-pointer. Try 5 for Leeds, and the first half has ended up an absolute catastrophe for South Sydney. And Steve, I never asked you before the game here, you're tipping the win. It was Leeds, wasn't it?
Well, you know, you were telling me the difference between rugby league and rugby union, and the difference between Leeds and South Sydney. And realistically, as you mentioned, you know, this is an exhibition, if you will, a practice game for everybody. And I think the most important thing is to have fun, to get get the bugs out. As a couple of the players were telling me behind they really want to get into these practice games and get ready for league play, because how they do here is wonderful, but how they do in Australia is what really counts for them.
And we're still a number of weeks away, middle of March, from the kick-off to the season proper, whereas the Leeds side you're watching have their very first game next weekend. And as we pointed at the start, the starting 13 for Leeds today was the same starting 13 they played in the grand final. South Sydney not with the same luxury. 9 top liners out from this match today. So they will improve greatly on what you see here. They will need to, though, it must be said, on what we've seen in the first half. Sinfield's kick is just starting to swing back but wide. And that's a pretty complete first half from the Leeds Rhinos. The Australia Day challenge has gone wrong for the Rabbitohs. Try scorers in the first half. Diskin and Webb in the first quarter. Since then, Burrow, Senior and Donald. Sinfield has kicked 3 from 5. So we go to the second break, the halftime break, the long break, with the Leeds Rhinos leading South Sydney at Hodges Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida, by 26 points to 0. I'm happy to say, joining us in commentary for this third quarter, part owner of the Rabbitohs, the one and only Russell Crowe. Russell, it hasn't quite gone according to plan.
Well, it's all the young fellas out there, isn't it? All of them trying to impress the coach and all that sort of stuff. I don't think they're doing that at this point. But obviously, Asatasi, Kidwell, and all our big boys are not on the field, so that does give Leeds a distinct advantage in experience and size. Well,
it's a point I've made a number of times, Russell. 9 top liners missing from this South Sydney side, and Leeds playing with their grand final 13, or started the match. This is quite forceful, the defence. Here we are high in the stands at Hodges Stadium. It is away from the Leeds line. They trail by 26 points to 0, but the crowd hopeful that the Rabbitohs can break through. Greenfield has got through. The kick for Rodgers. Rodgers will score for the Rabbitohs. The Rhinos, the Rabbitohs, the South Sydney side have got their first try, and the majority of this crowd are on their feet. They have scored their first 4-pointer at Hodges Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida. And it is 7 minutes into the third quarter when they've broken through, and it is 26 points to 4. And what a charge from Greenfield, and good skill from the front row, Russell.
He's stripped down a lot in weight, Bossy. He's, we call him the monster. Looking forward to a big year from Michael Greenfield in the NRL this year.
Well, I watched him all the way through schoolboy football, and he was always a talent, played in all the junior rep sides. I can't remember him kicking no for a try, which is what he just did there for Ben Rodgers.
I wonder how that conversation's going to go with Jason Taylor tonight.
Well, he got it all right. It was shades of Taylor. Taylor couldn't have done any better. But good skill, front rower busting the line and then having the
wherewithal,
the presence to put in a kick, perfectly weighted, and Rodgers scores the try. And here's one of the many talents of Eddie Payer as goal kicker here. It was going to be Isaac Luke's first choice, but they've gone back to Eddie with Luke off the field. And Payer, who tasted first grade the last game of 2006, then just got a few more games last year, looking to add to that experience this season. He's 1 from 1, and the Rabbitohs bridge the gap to 20 points. 26 points to 6 in the Australia Day Challenge. And it is Andrew Voss and Russell Crowe in commentary right at the moment. It sounded like I spoke to Jason
should have been
Taylor
up at the beginning of the game.
Well, it may have helped. It may have helped. Jason Taylor was telling me yesterday the young blokes have been getting up at midnight, going downstairs, watching television, eating meals. It was about 4 days to get over the jet lag.
Yep.
It's such a huge experience. You've taken young blokes, for many of them, their first overseas trip as well.
Right.
Not just on the football side of things.
Yep.
But it's a massive life experience for a lot of these South blokes.
Well, that is the central point. The central point is to expand them as men.
The flow of points against them has stopped as well. Leeds scoreless in this quarter. Robbie Burrow outside the 30 for Leeds. I'm sure the Americans still look at this guy and say, what's he doing out there? This young bloke, this kid. And about 5'6" Robbie Burrow.
It was a very popular thing to yell out on the sideline down there a little while ago. Stop the midget. Stop the midget.
Well, I think the same cry went up, back in '87 when Alan Langer made his first trip over here with the State of Origin game. They looked at him and thought, what is he doing? And then later on, the legendary story where they put up Alan Langer, as the Rabbitohs get another penalty, they put up Alan Langer at a bodybuilding competition at a local steakhouse. And Alan got up there, ripped the gear off, did all the flexes, the whole bit, and he got third prize, I understand, on the night. against two blokes who are about 250 pounds, and there was little Alan Langer, third in a bodybuilding competition. I think he had a bit of beer courage as well. So
Sounds like one of those sort of stories.
Yeah, well, that's right. Again, another story from a long way from home. At 26-6, 26-12 will go down a lot better as Luke makes good ground. Issac Luke stumbling on his knees, gets over the line. He is some talent, Issac Luke, and he has proved there that man can run on his knees. Issac Luke would not be denied a try. 25-metre run, and I reckon he had his balance Russell for probably 2 or 3 metres of it.
It was an incredible force there coming up from Issac Luke's body to keep going with guys hitting him and rocking his balance, but he kept going, kept scrambling. Issac was a great addition to the team last year. There he is, brushed off 2. He stripped himself up there, and he drags the bloke across the line. Great job. I think Luke Stewart got a big hit in that last play too there. Got up very slowly and gingerly.
Yeah, he actually was taken by the cover defence, knocked off his feet, Luke Stewart. Really knocked when he wasn't expecting it, but the try by Issac Luke, and he won a game off his own back last year against Newcastle up at Energy Australia Stadium. I think that's the night that Issac Luke really arrived, when the game was there to be won. A young kid, grabs it by the scruff of the neck, sets up a couple of tries, and Kiwis thought so highly of him, they added him to their squad for the test match at the end of last year. And not only can he play dummy half, he can kick goals as well. Over to Issac Luke, 20 metres out, 15 metres in from the Atlantic Ocean side of the ground here. And he is successful. And 26-12 is going to make the Budweiser go down a lot better at 3/4 time. For the South Sydney fans in the crowd. And I tell you what, with the brakes on the Leeds side, another try before 3/4 time. And to quote the American vernacular, we've got a ball game. 26-16 or 18, it is game on. Way. Souths need to hang on for one more set of 6. Peacock. Plenty of
There's that late
muscle there. Another offload. Now the ball out to Lauatiti. He gets the ball away. Senior for the corner. And the touch judge says no try. The American touch judge is going to rule that Senior has gone touch in goal before he forced the ball. I salute him. He's got it right. It's 26-12.
Good scramble there, but they shouldn't have opened that hole in the first place, but still a good scramble to stop that from being more points. Who was that that hit us?
It was Issac.
Missed everywhere.
Strong bump on Senior, who'd weigh in at around about 106 kilos. Out in left centre. He's a big boy, Keith Senior. A try-scoring specialist denied one there. Now only 6 metres away. Luke will send them to the right side. Great ball for Paya. Straightens up. Eddie Paya goes over for the Rabbitohs. They've got their 3rd try. And we may be watching an Australia Day miracle here. 26-0 they trailed. Now it's 26-16.
That was incredible movement to the outside, and they really took advantage of the defense by shifting the ball to the outside and moving it towards the far side, the Atlantic Ocean side, if you will, of the sideline. Stretched him out, got the speed, got the lateral movement, and then for the try.
And then good footwork by Eddie Paya, the number 7, the halfback, to come up with a try. I guess we could call him the quarterback. But he made a decision here to go to his own playbook to straighten up when the ball could have been fed along and kept going right. They built to the left, set it up to the right. And it was a great passage of play for South Sydney, continuing their good work from the 3rd quarter.
Well, in American football, we call that the gap. What they really did was they spread out the defense, got the gaps, if you will, put it back, and had a better angle for the score.
And the try scorer only 19 years of age. And a total of 4 first-grade games to his credit. So very much a rookie. And over to Issac Luke again to take the shot at goal. Issac too, only 20 years of age, 14 games last year. Won the John Sattler Rookie of the Year award for the Rabbitohs, honouring one of the champions of South Sydney of years gone by. And Luke is successful, 26-18. And as he kicked the goal, the sun started to come through. Suddenly the sun in Jacksonville has never shone brighter as the Rabbitohs mount a comeback. Where is this coming from?
Well, you mentioned it. You know, you talked about the jet lag. You talked about the effect of traveling over here from Australia, 27 hours to get here. Some of these players, to be honest with you, you mentioned it's 5 o'clock in the morning for them. It takes a little bit of time for their internal clock to kick on. Well, now it's about 7 or 8 o'clock, so they're up, they're eating breakfast, they're ready to go.
Well, this is it. Set. The game is theirs. 40 metres away from the line. Someone needs to stand up for South right now. Falloon and thrown out for Sutton. Kept alive. Barnes has gone through. Barnes with a step. He's tackled 5 metres away from the line. Nathaniel Barnes.
Nice play.
Rhinos go from dummy half. They're held up. Has to come left now. It has to come left. They need to score this play. Barnes dummy half doesn't get a clean shot at the ball. The markers came up. Penalty, almost professional foul, and sin bin there. Referee Bentham gets involved. Clock hasn't stopped yet. Inside final minute. Now we've got some punches, some push and shove.
Is that Kevin Sr. in there fighting?
Keith Sr. is in the middle.
Senior?
Yeah, he's the
old guy.
He wants a crack. Who wants the title?
He's got his mouthpiece in, so, you know.
So now the clock has stopped with 45 seconds remaining from the line. Leeds are defending. They've got 3 trainers in goal directing the defence. That's illegal. Rhinos have got it. 8 metres out from their own line. They'll go over. Rhinos have scored again. It's going to be too late. I think it was George Nadera who got across the line. It was. In his first match for the Rabbitohs, in his first week with the club, and it's 26-22, but time is going to beat South Sydney. 26-22. And just to explain, in that defensive set, Leeds had all 3 of their training staff in goal, directing their defence around. You're not allowed to even have one. They were getting called around like chess pieces.
That'd be like a coaching staff walking on the field, readjusting the defense during the action. I don't think you want Tom Coughlin for the Giants out there setting the defense.
Well, back in Australia, Ron Palmer eat your heart out because he's notorious, a trainer with the Roosters, for getting out on the field and directing play. But to have 3 out there, that's a little over the top.
I agree with you. And you called it. You said that's illegal.
Final play of the match is George Nadera going for goal. Well, there's one thing for sure. The crowd's been entertained here. 26-24. History probably won't record the detail of how the match was played rather than just a 2-point margin. But it was 26-0 at half-time.
Very respectable second half for South Sydney. You know, they really showed, I think, in my honest opinion, they began to feel the flow of the game as we talked about the jet lag. And you were mentioning they were getting up at midnight and trying to get their biological clock on Eastern time, and it's almost impossible. You know, I know when I fly west to Hawaii for vacation, it takes me a day or two just to adjust when I come back home.
And you don't go over there and play a game of football and get smashed by.
No, we just go chill and drink Mai Tais and, you know, do a little diving. And yeah, I'm going to come visit your country, though. I promise you I will be at Sydney. It'd be a dream of mine. We talked about that, and you've been a great ambassador to the country of Australia, and looking forward to my trip out to the continent.
Well, Steve Berry, my co-commentator, it's been a pleasure to have you with us, and hopefully you'll come down when the NRL season is in full swing. And
I'll do that.
Catch a rugby league match in Australia in all its glory. And South Sydney here in the Australia Day Challenge. The crowd will go home happy, a crowd in excess of 10,000. There's no inflated numbers here. It was probably around 11,000.
Yeah, it was just, the stands seat about 10. They were full. You had about 3 deep on the sidelines. You had the other side. You still have people out playing in the rugby fields. And this is great for the game of rugby, especially in the city of Jacksonville, because with our diverse population, the Navy base being here, there's a lot of naval personnel that go overseas and learn this game and come back. The University of North Florida has a club rugby team. Jacksonville University has a club rugby team. And Bowles High School here in Jacksonville has a rugby team. So it's starting to grow.
Well, let's hope that league is their rugby code of choice. But there is quite a crossover between players playing rugby union and rugby league. Let's go down on ground right now. Our reporter there is Danny Weidler.
You can learn from our mistakes anyway, so it was a good turnout, and for the boys that played and for the Leeds team that let us have a game against them was good. So
what about the crowd?
that was unreal, especially for Americans.
They really got into it, though.
Yeah, no, they did. I think they got. I hope rugby league is a big thing over here now, so we can only produce this kind of game over here, so it's good.
Second-year syndrome, something that you'd be wary of. You don't want that to affect your game. What have you done to try and counter that?
I really haven't done anything, just learned from the older players like Rory Asatasi and Nigel Wagner. They pretty much sprung me on last year, so it's another two people I turned to, so it was good.
And rugby league, has it got a future over here?
Rugby league's got a big future everywhere, so whoever was watching, better start playing.
Thanks, Isaac.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Issac Luke, our man of the match here, and despite the fact he's on the losing side, he has attracted plenty of headlines here. And how exciting is it to have a young bloke like that? 14 first-grade games last year. He's developed in the off-season, and as he says, the influence of some of the senior players at South Sydney. What a talent, Issac Luke. We can go back down to the ground. Danny Weidler.
Thanks, Vossi. Yeah, look, got Danny Peacock with me. Danny, Jamie, sorry, mate. It was a fantastic effort from your side just before the season starts. How important was that hit out?
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, our league starts next Saturday, and we need to get off and running. And it was a tough hit out for us, against South, to show some spirit to come back into the game there.
Is it a worry they came back at you so hard?
I don't think so. I think the team that finished the last 40-50 minutes were completely different to the one that started it. Sometimes you lose a bit of rhythm when you make as many changes as that, really. And
what about the crowd, the drums, the cheering? They love the big hits.
Yeah, they've been fantastic, really. I think it was a good game to see, to be honest. I think it's a good for rugby league to see that kind of game. There were some big hits from both teams, and these lot were buzzing off it, so yeah.
Congratulations and good luck for the season.
Cheers, thanks for that. Thanks a lot. Cheers, pal.
Jamie Peacock there representing the Leeds Rhinos, and their season does start next week against Hull KR will be the first game, and our Channel 9 audience will see Leeds in action in the World Club Challenge against the Melbourne Storm. Players exchanging jumpers right now. It's going to get a little confusing out there. Just the Leeds players will keep their socks, but everything else will be gone. And the Rabbitohs now wearing the Leeds jumpers, most of them. Rabbitohs still a month and a half away from their start to the season. And that will be against the Roosters. Game 1. But here in the Australia Day Challenge, it's been entertaining at Hodges Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida. Leeds defeating South Sydney 26-24. As the presentation still to come. The crowd have decided they want to beat the traffic and maybe not stick around for the presentation, Steve. But
well, can you blame them? It's 8 degrees Celsius. I mean, they're cold. I will say this, though. You mentioned it's the Australia Day Challenge. I would love to see this every year, especially here in Jacksonville. It's a great atmosphere, and being, a native of Jacksonville, born and raised here, grew up here, have very strong ties to this city and will never leave. I think it would be great to do this every year, bring in Leeds and bring in an Australian team.
How ambitious could they get? Could we go to the Jaguars Stadium?
Well, the Jaguars
wouldn't fill it, but to get a few
I'll be honest with you, 10 or 11,000 people at Alltel Stadium would not be a bad crowd. The challenge you're going to have is the pitch is not quite as wide at Alltel Stadium as it is here. This is a soccer stadium / football stadium, so the pitch is a little bit wider, the pitch is a little bit flatter. At Jacksonville, it's more crowned and it's more, of a football field. But I personally would love to see it at Alltel Stadium, or excuse me, at Jacksonville Municipal Stadium. It used to be called Alltel Stadium. But to me, with 12,000 people here today, this is only going to get bigger. Of course, about 5,000 women came to see Russell Crowe, but,
Yes, this is true. And still standing by for the start of the presentation, but you can see some of this crowd here. As I say, the work that's gone on behind the scenes and promotion of it.
University of North Florida has done a wonderful job at getting the facilities ready. They actually got our heat turned on about 5 minutes ago, so you can start to thaw out here in the broadcast booth. And, of course, I think you mentioned it. Brian has done a wonderful job of producing because every one of these camera people have never worked with Brian and have never pretty much covered rugby. Props to Brian.
Well, let's hope that it's the same crew next year.
Yep. And let's hope that your travel plans go a little smoother next year. You know, you don't have to fly during the middle of the bad weather in Dallas.
Well, the bus trip from Dallas was long.
But entertaining.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Thank you for the potato chips, by the way.
Well, the trip back for Leeds. So we know that Kevin Sinfield, the bulk of the squad go home tomorrow afternoon, but we do know that Kevin Sinfield, whose wife Jane is expecting at any tick of the clock, Kevin will get on the first flight available out here this afternoon and will be on his way home, the captain of the Leeds Rhinos. So his last duty is to accept the trophy